All right, this is going to be a pretty short video. I just want to go over with you some basics about fractions and decimals. All right, fractions and decimals are essentially the same thing. It just means you're writing part of a whole number. All right, for instance, if I'm thinking, let's look at something very, very basic. Let's take the fraction 1/2. All right, this means 1 divided by 2. All right, that is what that means. That bar in your fraction indicates division. So 1 divided by 2. It also means half of a whole. In other words, 1 part of 2 parts. Okay, so if I was going to do that very basically, right, I've got half a part here, half a part here. Together, they make the whole. All right? Okay. So another way to think about this fraction, every fraction can be written as a decimal. So 1/2. How would I write that as a decimal? Well, it's a pretty basic one, so we all know that it's 0.5. But mathematically, let me show you what that looks like. It hinges off this idea of division. So that means 1 divided by 2. Well, 2 won't go into 1, so I've got to draw a decimal and then add some zeros. All right, so now 2 goes into 10. See, the decimal comes up here. 5 times 2 is 10. Okay, now that that's 0, I didn't really need those other zeros. So 1/2 is equivalent to 0.5. Anytime you see a decimal, you can also think of that as over 10. So if I want to write 0.5 as a fraction, just looking at that, I can go, well, I know that that's 5 over 10. What does that reduce to? It reduces to 1/2. I know, it's exciting. It really is fun. Okay, so anyway, and going along with that idea of reducing, a lot of students struggle with this. So basically, you're asking yourself a question, can this reduce? Well, when I look at 5/10, I know it can reduce because the numerator will go into the denominator 2 times. So that's where I get that 2, right? 1/5, 2 of those makes a 10. Okay, so that's how reducing works. All right, so that's just some basics about fractions and decimals. One other thing I would like to remind you of is that any number can be written as a fraction. Here's what I mean by that. That means that if I have the number 2, I can write it as a fraction. How, Miss Griggs? Well, every number is understood to be over 1. So when you see the number 2, it's really 2 over 1. Every number can be written as a fraction. Well, what about 368? Yes, it's 368 over 1. All right, so anytime I'm working with fractions and I have a whole number that, let's say, is added to a fraction, I can change it to a fraction so that operating with it will be a little easier.